The swing Drake Jackson threw at me in my driveway never landed. That's where this story starts. Not with the punch, but with what came after. My name is Alex Taylor, and I'm 37 years old. Retired Navy SEAL. Father first. I don't yell, I don't perform. I wait, I document, and I finish what other people start. Drake thought volume made him dangerous. Liza Taylor thought the courts would believe her first. They were both wrong. That Friday night, Drake swung. I controlled him, put him down clean, and sent him home embarrassed. Then they tried to bury me on paper. Emergency motions, false reports, coached testimony. I didn't panic. I built a case. Attorney Tracy Wallace kept me legal. Private investigator Joe Lopez kept me covered. My old teammate George Henderson kept me digital. Neighbor Sandy Moore kept me honest with doorbell footage. Judge Park kept me heard. Pain passes. Consequences don't. If you've been betrayed by someone who thought you'd fold, watch how method beats drama every time. Before I go any further, let me know in the comments where in the world you are watching from, and make sure to subscribe because tomorrow I will share a story you don't want to miss. 6:58 p.m. on a Friday in late September. The temperature was still warm enough to leave a jacket inside, and the dusk had turned the street that soft orange color that makes everything look calm, even when it's not. I stood in my driveway with Leo's backpack in one hand, blue canvas, dinosaur patch on the front, and my keys in the other. Liza's car sat at the curb, engine ticking as it cooled. She leaned against the driver's door, sunglasses on even though the sun was gone, arms crossed like she was posing for something. Drake Jackson stood about 10 feet away, hands on his hips, chest out. Big guy. Early 40s, gym bulk, tattoo sleeve, goatee, tight black shirt that showed off everything he wanted you to notice. He was grinning. Leo was still buckled in the back seat. I could see his face through the window, wide eyes clutching his stuffed triceratops. Drake took 2 steps forward. "That's close enough," I said. My voice didn't rise. It didn't need to. He kept coming. "Yeah? Or what, G.I. Joe? You gonna salute me?" I didn't answer. I set the backpack down on the hood of my truck and turned to face him square, feet shoulder width, hands loose. I'd seen this dance 100 times overseas, posturing before the real move. He wanted me to flinch or shout. I gave him nothing. "You don't get to play daddy on my time anymore," Drake said, louder now. "That's my house. My kid now. You're done." Liza didn't stop him. She adjusted her sunglasses. Drake stepped inside my arm's reach and cocked his right hand back. Wide, slow, telegraphed like he learned it from a movie. I pivoted left on my back foot, let the punch sail past my shoulder and caught his wrist mid-swing. One motion. I hooked my right foot behind his ankle and pulled his weight forward while I controlled his arm. He went down hard on the asphalt, flat on his back, air rushing out of him in a wheeze. I knelt beside him, wrist still locked, my knee light on his chest. My voice stayed low. "Custody exchanges stay clean. You speak around my son again, you learn what compliance really feels like. We clear?" He tried to twist. I applied pressure, not enough to hurt, just enough to stop the squirming. His face went red. "We clear?" I repeated. "Yeah," he gasped. "Yeah, clear." I let him up. He scrambled to his feet, brushing gravel off his jeans, breathing hard. Liza finally moved, pushing off the car. "Enjoy the weekend, Alex," she said, her voice sharp and cold. "Paperwork's coming Monday. I'll make sure the judge hears all about this." I didn't respond. I opened the car door, unbuckled Leo, and lifted him out. He wrapped his arms around my neck, still holding the triceratops. I grabbed his backpack and walked him straight to the front door. Behind me, I heard Drake muttering something, then a car door slam. I got Leo inside, locked the door, and sent a single text to Tracy Wallace. "Need a consult." Her reply came back in 30 seconds. "Call you in an hour." Dusk faded into full dark. I cooked scrambled eggs while Leo picked a movie, something with dinosaurs and volcanoes. We ate on the couch, and I let him fall asleep halfway through, his head on my shoulder, the triceratops tucked under his chin. I turned the volume down and stared at the screen without seeing it. At 9:22 p.m., a knock rattled the front door, soft, hesitant. I eased Leo off my shoulder, laid him on the couch with a blanket and moved to the door. Through the peephole, Sandy Moore, my neighbor from 2 doors down, early 50s, kind eyes, cardigan buttoned up tight. I opened the door. "Sandy?" She glanced over her shoulder, then leaned in close. "Alex, I don't want to alarm you, but that man, Drake, is it? He's been pacing on the sidewalk for the last 10 minutes, just back and forth, talking on his phone." I nodded. "Thank you. I'll keep an eye on it." She hesitated. "If you need anything..." "I'm good. I appreciate it." She left, and I moved to the kitchen window. I pulled my phone out, opened the camera, and hit record. Through the glass, I could see Drake's silhouette under the streetlight, phone pressed to his ear, gesturing with his free hand. He paced 5 steps one way, 5 steps back. Angry, performative. Then I saw it. A car I didn't recognize, dark sedan, idling at the curb about 20 yards past Liza's empty spot. No headlights. Passenger window down. And through that window, a brief flash, white light, sharp and quick. A camera. Someone in the passenger seat was snapping photos. The angle pointed straight at my house. Drake kept pacing. The camera flashed again. I kept recording. Will those photos become the first lie? Sunrise hit the kitchen blinds at 7:06 a.m. Saturday morning, slicing golden light across the table where Leo sat eating cereal. I was pouring coffee when the knock came. 3 sharp raps, official and deliberate. I opened the door. A woman in a polo shirt with a clipboard held out a thick manila envelope. "Alex Taylor?" "That's me. You've been served." She handed it over, turned, and walked back to her car without another word. I closed the door, tore open the envelope, and scanned the first page. Emergency motion. Filed Friday at 4:47 p.m., 41 minutes before the driveway incident. Liza's attorney alleged I displayed violent and threatening behavior, created an unsafe environment, and requested sole legal and physical custody of Leo, temporary spousal support, temporary child support, and exclusive occupancy of the residence for the child's stability. The lies were typed clean, signed, and notarized. I set the papers on the counter, pulled out my phone, and dialed Tracy Wallace. She picked up on the second ring. "Alex? Just got served. Emergency motion. Sole custody, support, the house, everything." Her voice sharpened. "Read me the filing timestamp. Friday, 4:47 p.m. Before the exchange," she said. "So whatever happened on your driveway, she already had this planned. That's good for us. Don't panic, don't text her, don't call him. Preserve everything. Texts, emails, videos, photos. I mean everything. We meet tomorrow, Sunday, 2 p.m., at my office. Bring a timeline, every detail you remember and any documentation you have. I've got video from last night. Drake pacing my street, car taking photos. Perfect. Bring it. And Alex, stay calm. Calm wins. I'm calm. Good. Keep it that way." She hung up. I stared at the phone for a second, then scrolled to George Henderson's number and hit call. He answered with a yawn. "It's early, man. I need a digital sweep. Liza and Drake. Social posts, timestamps, GPS if you can pull it. She filed an emergency motion yesterday afternoon. I need to know what she's been saying and where she's been." George's voice lost the sleep. "On it. Give me 48 hours. Thank you." Next call. Joe Lopez, the private investigator Tracy had mentioned before. He picked up on the 4th ring, voice rough like I'd woken him too. "Lopez. Joe, it's Alex Taylor. Tracy Wallace gave me your number. I need surveillance logs, route mapping, and documentation on my ex-wife's boyfriend. He's been showing up at odd hours, possibly violating terms. I need proof. When do you need it?" "Starting now." He paused. "I can start Monday, retainers 1,500. You good with that?" "I'm good. I'll wire it today." "Then we're rolling." He hung up. I set the phone down and let out a slow breath. The kitchen felt quieter now, the coffee cooling in my hand. Leo looked up from his cereal, Triceratops propped against his bowl. "Dad, are we okay?" "We're okay, buddy. Just grown-up stuff. You and me? We're solid." He nodded and went back to his cereal. At 9:14 a.m., my email pinged. "Sandy Moore. Subject line, doorbell footage. Thought you should see this. I opened the attachment. 4 clips, time-stamped over the last 3 weeks. Each one showed Drake Jackson arriving at Liza's house during off nights, stumbling up the driveway yelling at his phone, once kicking a trash bin into the street hard enough to send it rolling. The audio caught slurred words and loud laughter. One clip had him pounding on Liza's door at 11:38 p.m., shouting, "Let me in, babe, come on." I forwarded it all to Tracy with a note. From the neighbor. More documentation. Her reply came back in seconds. Gold. The morning slid into afternoon. I played board games with Leo, chutes and ladders, then sorry. He won twice. I let him. Routine mattered now. Stability mattered. If Liza wanted to paint me as chaos, I'd show the court what steady looked like. At 3:42 p.m., a patrol car rolled past the house, slowed, then stopped at the curb. Officer Chris Johnson stepped out, mid-30s, clean-cut, standard patrol uniform. I met him on the porch. "Afternoon, officer." "Afternoon, Mr. Taylor. Got a neighbor complaint about raised voices last night. Just logging a wellness check. Everything all right here?" "Everything's fine. Custody exchange yesterday got tense, but it stayed verbal. No incident." He nodded, scribbled something in his notepad. "Understood. I'll mark it verbal only. No incident. You need anything, you call." "Appreciate it." He tipped his head and left. I watched the patrol car disappear around the corner, then went back inside. At 5:53 p.m., Tracy texted a calendar notice. Temporary orders hearing. Monday, 9 a.m., Judge Park presiding. Be ready. I saved the date. At 6:08 p.m., my phone buzzed twice in quick succession. First text, Liza, mediation or war. Second text, Drake, a selfie, him grinning wide, holding up a middle finger, laughing like this was all a game. I set the phone face down on the counter and stared at the wall. Did Liza just script the courtroom drama she thinks I can't control? Sunday noon hit hard and bright through the windows of Tracy Wallace's office. The conference table was buried under files, emergency motion, police reports, bank statements, doorbell footage stills, and a yellow legal pad covered in Tracy's sharp handwriting. She stood at the head of the table, sleeves rolled, hair pulled back, eyes moving over everything like she was assembling a machine. I sat across from her, coffee cooling in my hand. Joe Lopez leaned against the wall to my left, arms crossed, ball cap low. George Henderson sat beside me, laptop open, fingers already moving across keys. Tracy tapped the table once. "Here's how this works. Joe, you handle physical surveillance. I need late-night footage, movement patterns, anything that shows Drake living at Liza's place despite her claims of a stable, separate household. George, you're on metadata, social posts, GPS tags, anything that contradicts their timeline. Sandy Moore's our witness for the doorbell footage. Alex, you write a sworn timeline. Every custody exchange, every text, every knock on your door. Timestamps, exact words, no guessing." I nodded. "Understood." Joe pushed off the wall. "I've got footage from Friday night and last Tuesday. Drake bringing duffel bags to Liza's porch, letting himself in with a key. Stays till morning both times. Want me to keep rolling?" "Keep rolling," Tracy said. "I want a week's worth minimum. Show routine, not coincidence." George looked up from his laptop. I pulled his social media. He posted himself at a bar downtown Thursday at 10:47 p.m. Same night, Liza claimed Leo was scared because Drake had to leave suddenly due to Alex's aggressive behavior. Metadata says the post was live, not scheduled. He wasn't at her house. He was drinking. Tracy wrote that down, underlined it twice. Beautiful. Tag every post, screenshot timestamps, and prepare a summary chart. Judge Park likes visuals. I set my coffee down and pulled out my phone. I've got text threads from Liza. She's been coaching Leo. Tracy's head snapped up. "Show me." I scrolled back 3 weeks and found the messages. Here, she texted Leo's iPad while he was at my place. "Does Daddy keep guns in the house? You can tell me, sweetie." Then the next night, "If you see anything scary, you tell Mommy, okay?" Tracy leaned in, read it, then looked at George. "Can you verify those came from her number?" "Already on it," George said. "Header data matches her cell. Sent from her device, not spoofed. Tracy turned to me. Do you keep firearms at your place? No. I have a gun safe at a storage unit off Highway 9. I can produce the rental agreement, the lock logs, everything. Get them. Today. I pulled up the storage company's app, downloaded the rental contract and the digital access log showing every time I'd entered the unit. I forwarded it all to Tracy. She scanned it, nodded. Perfect. This kills her narrative. She's manufacturing fear to manipulate custody. Sunday slid into evening. Tracy printed exhibits, doorbell stills, metadata charts, bank records showing Liza draining the joint account 3 days before filing. She labeled each one with timestamps and case codes, stacking them in a blue binder. Joe sent another batch of footage. Drake hauling a gym bag and groceries into Liza's house at 11:16 p.m. Saturday, lights going off at midnight. His truck still parked there at 6:00 a.m. Sunday. George pulled up a Facebook post from Liza's profile dated 2 weeks ago. Loving this new chapter, independence, strength, and a fresh start. The metadata showed it was posted from her house at 9:34 p.m., the same night she claimed she was afraid to be alone and needed Drake there for safety. Tracy circled that in red. Contradictions stack fast. By 1 a.m. Monday, I was on Tracy's office couch, eyes half closed while the printer hummed through exhibit copies. Tracy was still at the table, pen moving, refining her opening. George had gone home an hour ago. Joe sent a final text. Got everything you need. Good luck tomorrow. I must have dozed for 20 minutes because when I opened my eyes, Tracy was standing over me with a fresh coffee. Drink. We leave in 2 hours. I sat up, took the cup. You sleep at all? I'll sleep after we win. She handed me a printout, 3 pages, single-spaced. Your timeline. Read it, sign it, and be ready to testify to every word. I read it twice. Every exchange, every threat, every late-night knock. It was clean, factual, and damning. I signed it. At 7:42 a.m., we stood in the courthouse parking lot. Early light hit the glass doors, turning them gold. My phone pinged. Calendar reminder, temporary orders, 9:00 a.m., Department 3, Judge Park. Tracy adjusted her briefcase strap and looked at me. Evidence crushes allegation, but if we hesitate, allegation stains evidence first. You ready? I met her eyes. I'm ready. She nodded. Then let's go finish this. We walked toward the doors. Will evidence crush allegation, or will allegation stain evidence first? The clock above Department 3 clicked from 8:59 to 9 a.m., and Judge Park stepped through the chamber door. Everyone stood. The courtroom smelled like floor polish and nerves. I sat on the right side with Tracy. Liza sat on the left with Drake beside her, close enough to look united but far enough that she could pretend he wasn't the reason we were here. Judge Park settled into his chair, adjusted his glasses, and glanced at the docket. Taylor versus Taylor. Temporary orders. Counsel, state your appearances. Tracy stood. Tracy Wallace for respondent Alex Taylor, Your Honor. Liza's attorney, a younger guy in a suit that didn't fit quite right, stood next. Mark Vega for petitioner Liza Taylor. Judge Park nodded. Ms. Wallace, you filed opposition. You may proceed. Tracy didn't waste time. She opened the blue binder and pulled the first exhibit. Your Honor, the petitioner alleges violence and instability. The evidence shows otherwise. Exhibit A, doorbell footage from neighbor Sandy Moore, time-stamped Friday at 7:02 p.m., showing Drake Jackson, petitioner's boyfriend, initiating physical contact with my client at a custody exchange. My client de-escalated without injury. She handed copies to the clerk, who passed one to Judge Park and one to Vega. The video played on a laptop screen tilted toward the bench. You could see Drake step forward. You could see him swing. You could see me pivot and put him down. No punches, no drama, just control. Judge Park watched without expression. When it ended, he looked at Vega. Your client didn't mention Mr. Jackson in the motion. Vega shifted. Your Honor, the focus was on the respondent's conduct. The video shows Mr. Jackson's conduct, Judge Park said. Continue, Ms. Wallace. Tracy pulled the next exhibit. Exhibit B, storage unit rental agreement and digital access logs. Petitioner claims respondent keeps firearms in the home, creating fear. Respondent stores firearms off-site per standard practice. No weapons in the residence where the child sleeps. She handed over the paperwork. Judge Park scanned it, set it down. Exhibit C, timeline of exchanges, signed and dated by respondent. Clean handoffs, no incidents except the one initiated by Mr. Jackson. Exhibit D, declaration from private investigator Joe Lopez documenting Mr. Jackson's presence at petitioner's residence during times she claimed she was alone and afraid. Tracy slid Joe's declaration across. 2 pages, single-spaced, with timestamps and location markers. Exhibit E, metadata summary prepared by George Henderson, cybersecurity specialist. Social media posts from petitioner claiming independence and strength, posted the same nights she alleged fear and instability. She handed over the chart. George's work was clean. Post content on the left, metadata on the right, contradictions highlighted in yellow. Judge Park looked at Vega. Anything you'd like to say about these exhibits? Vega flipped through his notes. Your Honor, emotions were high. Ms. Taylor acted out of genuine concern for her son's safety. Concern backed by what evidence? Judge Park asked. Vega hesitated. The respondent's training, his background, his honorable discharge and stable employment, Judge Park said. I see those in the file. What I don't see is a single police report, injury or threat before this motion. Vega sat down. Judge Park folded his hands. Emergency relief for sole custody is denied. Week-on, week-off parenting time is restored effective immediately. Exchanges will occur at the police station on Main Street, Fridays at 6 p.m. until further notice. I'm ordering a forensic accountant to review the joint account withdrawals referenced in Ms. Wallace's opposition. Both parties will cooperate fully. I felt my shoulders drop half an inch. Liza's face went pale. Drake's jaw tightened. Judge Park continued. I'm also encouraging mediation before we waste more court resources. Bailiff, calendar these parties for a settlement conference Wednesday at 3 p.m. with Micah Johnson. The bailiff nodded, tapped his keyboard. Anything else? Judge Park asked. Tracy stood. No, Your Honor, thank you. Vega shook his head. Judge Park tapped his gavel once. We're in recess. Be back at 1:15 p.m. if there are further matters. Everyone stood. Judge Park left through the chamber door. I turned to Tracy. That was fast, I said. He doesn't tolerate games, Tracy said, and he saw through theirs. We gathered our files. Liza and Vega huddled near the door. Drake stood behind them, arms crossed, trying to look unbothered. I walked past without making eye contact. He leaned in as I passed. This isn't over, he muttered. I didn't stop, didn't turn, didn't give him anything. Outside sunlight hit the courthouse steps. My phone buzzed, email notification. I pulled it up. Subject line, forensic accounting, preliminary flags. I opened it. The accountant had already started. 3 large cash withdrawals from the joint account in the 2 weeks before Liza filed. 2 of them matched purchase dates for a flat-screen TV and a leather couch, both delivered to Liza's address. The 3rd matched a payment to a gym where Drake had a membership. I handed the phone to Tracy. She read it, then looked at me. This is bigger than custody. Yeah, I said. It is. She handed the phone back. Mediation's Wednesday. Let's see if she wants to settle or detonate. I stared at the email one more time. Will mediation expose the money? Or detonate it? Wednesday, 3 p.m. The mediation room smelled like stale coffee and furniture polish. A glass pitcher sat in the middle of the wooden table, condensation sliding down the sides. Micah Johnson adjusted his collar and looked at both sides of the table like he'd already seen this play before. Ground rules, he said. No interruptions, no personal attacks. We're here to find common ground, not score points. If you can't be civil, we end early and file an impasse. Clear? Liza nodded once. Drake leaned back in his chair, arms crossed. I sat still. Micah gestured to me. Mr. Taylor, you requested mediation. Start us off. I placed my folder on the table and opened it slowly. Bank statements on top. Doorbell timestamps beneath. Storage receipts underneath. I arranged them in a neat stack, lined up the edges, and looked across the table at Liza. "You don't want custody," I said. "You want control." Her jaw tightened. I tapped the bank statements. 3 withdrawals, $15,000, 2 weeks before you filed. TV, couch, gym membership, none of it for Leo. All of it while you claimed poverty and asked for support. Micah glanced at the papers. Liza's attorney, Vega, leaned in and whispered something. She shook her head. I kept going. "You coached Leo to say I kept guns in the house." "I don't." "Storage unit offsite documented. You said you were afraid. Doorbell footage shows Drake here." I gestured toward him. Coming and going like he owns the place, sometimes drunk, sometimes loud, never careful. Drake scoffed. "That's..." Micah held up a hand. "Not your turn." Drake shut his mouth, but the smirk stayed. I looked at Liza again. "I'm not here to punish you. I'm here to protect Leo. If you want shared custody, we build a budget, stick to a schedule, and stop using our son as leverage. If you want war, you already lost the first round." Liza's hands were flat on the table. "You think you're so calm, so perfect. You don't know what it's like to live with someone who shuts down, who won't talk, who makes you feel small just by existing." "I never made you small," I said. "I just stopped making you the center of everything." Her face flushed. Micah cleared his throat. "Let's refocus," he said. "I'm proposing a structured budget. Shared expenses for Leo, split 50-50. A communication script for exchanges, texts only, neutral language, logistics only. No side conversations, no surprises. Can we agree on that framework?" Vega whispered to Liza again. She shook her head harder this time. "No," she said. "He doesn't get to dictate terms." Micah turned to me. "Mr. Taylor?" "I'll agree to anything that keeps Leo stable and honest," I said. Micah nodded. "Ms. Taylor, what concessions are you willing to make?" "None," she said. "He started this. He put Drake on the ground in front of our son. He swung first," I said. "And now he's trying to take everything from me." Drake leaned forward. "You want to talk about wolves at the door? Look in the mirror, man. You're the one flexing military muscle, playing dress-up with evidence, acting like you're untouchable." I didn't blink. "I documented facts. You swung wild and missed. There's a difference." Micah looked at the clock. "We've been here 2 hours. If no one's willing to move, I'm calling it." Silence. Liza stood first. Vega gathered his files. Drake pushed back from the table and followed them to the door. Micah sighed and pulled out his laptop. "Impasse notice goes to the court electronically," he said. "Judge Park will see it by end of day." I nodded. "Appreciate the effort." "Wish it had gone differently," Micah said. The mediation ended at 5:12 p.m., 6:02 p.m. police station parking lot. Officer Chris Johnson stood near the entrance, hands on his belt, expression neutral. I pulled in with Leo buckled in the back seat, his dinosaur backpack between his feet. "You okay, bud?" I asked. "Yeah," Leo said quietly. I parked, got out, opened his door. Liza's car was already there, idling near the curb. Drake stood beside it, leaning against the hood like he was posing for something. I walked Leo toward the entrance. Officer Johnson gave me a small nod. Drake stepped forward. "Easy," Officer Johnson said. Drake stopped but stayed close. Too close. He looked at me, then at Leo, then back at me. "Gun," he hissed, loud enough for the officer to hear. Then he stepped back, hands up, theatrical. "He's got a gun." Officer Johnson straightened. "Sir, step back." "He threatened me with it last week," Drake said, voice rising. "Check him." I stood still, hands visible, calm. "I don't have a weapon," I said. Officer Johnson spoke into his radio. "I need backup at the station, possible armed individual." My chest tightened. Leo grabbed my hand. "Dad?" "It's okay," I said. "Stay with Officer Johnson." 2 more patrol cars pulled in fast. Officers stepped out, hands near their holsters. "Hands where I can see them," one said. I raised them slowly. Leo started crying. "Dad didn't do anything," he said. "They cuffed me anyway. Officer safety protocol." I didn't resist, didn't speak, didn't give them a reason. They patted me down. Keys, wallet, phone, no weapon. Nothing on him, one officer said. Officer Johnson looked at Drake. You said he had a gun. Drake shrugged. I said I thought he did. Better safe, right? I felt the metal bite my wrists. Leo sobbed. Liza stood by her car, arms crossed, watching. They walked me inside. Holding cell. The door slid shut with a metallic click that echoed. I sat on the bench and closed my eyes. My phone, still in the evidence bag, buzzed. I heard an officer answer it. Yeah, his attorney. Hold on. A pause. Then Tracy's voice, sharp and clear even through the distance. I am already pulling the camera feed. Will video clear me before the damage calcifies? Dawn striped the station corridor through narrow windows high on the wall. I'd been sitting on a bench for 6 hours. My wrists still felt the ghost pressure of cuffs even though they'd taken them off 2 hours ago. The vending machine hum was the only sound besides footsteps passing every 30 minutes. Then Tracy Wallace walked in, heels clicking hard on linoleum, portable drive in one hand and a laptop bag over her shoulder. Morning, she said. Is it? I asked. She didn't smile. George sent the lot camera request number 20 minutes ago. Station archived it. Time-stamped, clear angle, full exchange visible. I stood. And? No gun, no threat, no sudden movement. Just you handing Leo off and Drake stepping into your space. I exhaled slow. So what now? Tracy set the drive on the desk where an officer had been sitting. Now we file. She pulled her phone, tapped twice, and showed me a text from Joe Lopez. Porch audio ready. Drake brags to friend about getting the seal locked up so the judge takes his kid. Timestamp matches 3 days before the station setup. He recorded himself, I said. People always do, Tracy said. She opened her laptop, connected to the station Wi-Fi, and started typing. I watched the motion build line by line. Motion to dismiss the police report. Motion for sanctions against Drake Jackson and Liza Taylor for filing false allegations. Embedded video links, embedded audio files. Case law citations I didn't understand but trusted she did. How long until it's filed? I asked. Now, she said. She hit submit. The screen blinked. Confirmation received. Clerk's office opens at 8, Tracy said. Riza Gutierrez will stamp it, assign it to Judge Park's calendar, and we'll get a response by noon. I nodded. My throat felt dry. George is pulling metadata on Drake's social posts too, Tracy added. If he lied about where he was the night he claimed to fear you, we'll have GPS coordinates from his photos. Good, I said. 12 hours passed like a bad dream I couldn't wake from. They released me on my own recognizance at 11:47 a.m. No charges filed, no bail. Just a clerk sliding paperwork across a counter and telling me I was free to go. I walked out into sunlight that felt too bright. My truck was still in the lot, keys in my pocket. I sat behind the wheel and didn't start the engine right away. I bought a vending machine sandwich from a gas station 2 blocks away. Turkey and cheese, too dry. Barely tasted it. Then I called Leo. He picked up on the second ring. Dad? Hey, bud, I said. I'm okay. They took you away. I know. That was a mistake. It's fixed now. Promise? I promise. And I'm going to see you tomorrow night. Dinner? Your pick. Pizza? Pizza it is. He sounded smaller than usual. Quieter. I hated that. Love you, Leo. Love you too, Dad. I hung up and stared at the dashboard. My phone buzzed. Email from the forensic accountant. Subject line, preliminary findings, Taylor joint account. I opened it. Cash withdrawals over 6 weeks, $14,200. Matched to credit card purchases at furniture stores, electronics retailers, gym equipment suppliers, all benefiting Drake Jackson. Liza's signature on the withdrawal slips. Drake's name on delivery receipts. I forwarded it to Tracy. She replied in under a minute. Combined evidentiary hearing, Friday 10 a.m., Judge Park. All of it goes in. I set the phone down and started the truck. That night I cleaned my kitchen, wiped counters, swept floors, put away dishes, kept my hands busy so my mind wouldn't run circles. Thursday morning, Joe Lopez sent a summary that placed Drake Jackson at Liza's home on 3 separate nights, when he'd claimed in his police report that he feared retaliation at my residence. Doorbell timestamps, vehicle plates, porch light activation, every piece documented, cross-referenced, stamped. Tracy filed it as supplemental evidence. Friday morning arrived cold and clear. I shaved, dressed in a pressed shirt and dark slacks, drank coffee standing at the counter because sitting made me restless. At 9:15 a.m., I walked into Tracy's office. She had a stack of printouts on her desk, organized by tabs, video stills, audio transcripts, bank statements, GPS metadata. On top of the stack, a single sheet. Video received, no gun present, no threat observed. She looked up. Judge Park converts lies into legal fallout better than anyone I've worked with. You ready? I nodded. Will Judge Park convert lies into legal fallout? Friday morning, 9:57 a.m., and Department 3 went quiet the second Judge Park stepped through the door behind the bench. The bailiff called us to rise. We stood. Judge Park settled into his chair, adjusted his glasses, and opened the file in front of him without ceremony. Tracy Wallace had our exhibits marked and tabbed: video stills, audio files, bank ledgers, metadata summaries. Everything organized the way you'd pack a ruck before a mission. Nothing extra, nothing missing. I sat on the right. Tracy beside me. Across the aisle, Liza sat rigid, hands folded on the table like she was posing for a portrait. Drake Jackson fidgeted next to her, tapping his knee, cracking his knuckles, trying to look relaxed and failing. Judge Park glanced at the docket. Motion to dismiss police report, motion for sanctions, request for custody modification. Ms. Wallace, proceed. Tracy stood. Your Honor, we'll begin with Exhibit A, station parking lot video from the evening of the alleged incident. The clerk hit a button. The screen on the wall lit up. There it was, the police station lot. Timestamp in the corner, 6:03 p.m. My truck pulling in, Leo in the back seat. I stepped out, opened the rear door, helped Leo grab his backpack. My posture was calm, hands visible, no sudden movements. Then Drake Jackson appeared from the left side of the frame. He walked straight at me, chest out, arms swinging. He stopped 3 feet away and started talking, his mouth moving, his finger jabbing toward me. I stepped back, hands still visible. I said something short. The camera had no audio, but the body language was clear. I was de-escalating. Drake stepped closer. I turned slightly, angled Leo behind me, and took another step back toward my truck. Drake moved again, crowded the space. Then he backed off suddenly, threw his hands up like I'd done something, and pointed at me while an officer approached. Judge Park leaned forward. Continue. Tracy pulled up the next exhibit. Your Honor, Exhibit B, porch audio, recorded 3 days prior to the station incident. The audio played. Drake's voice came through tinny but clear. Yeah, man, I'm telling you. Get the seal locked up. The judge takes his kid. She gets the house. I get peace. He gets consequences. Easy play. A second voice muffled. You serious? Drake laughing. Dead serious. Already got the story lined up. He threatens me at the exchange. I file the report. Cops show up. Boom. Done. Judge won't give custody to a guy with a police record. The courtroom stayed silent. Liza's hands tightened on the table. Drake's knee stopped bouncing. Judge Park looked at the defense table. Ms. Taylor, Mr. Jackson, any comment on this recording? Liza's attorney stood. Your Honor, we'd need to authenticate. It's authenticated, Tracy said. Timestamp, device metadata, witness declaration from the property owner who provided access. It's all in the supplemental filing. Judge Park waved a hand. Noted. Next exhibit. Tracy brought up the bank ledger. Rows of withdrawals from the joint account. Dates, amounts, Liza's signature on each slip. Matched line by line to credit card purchases, furniture, electronics, gym equipment, all with Drake Jackson's name on the delivery receipts. Your Honor, Tracy said, these withdrawals occurred after Ms. Taylor filed for emergency custody, claiming financial instability. The funds were used to furnish Mr. Jackson's lifestyle, not to support the minor child. Judge Park scanned the ledger. He didn't look surprised. He looked tired. Mr. Taylor, he said, Do you wish to address the court? I stood. My hands stayed at my sides. Your Honor, I said, I'm a steady father. I document facts, I don't do theatrics. I've provided every piece of evidence you've seen today because I believe truth matters more than volume. My son deserves a parent who shows up calm, prepared, and honest. That's what I am. That's what I'll keep being. I sat down. Judge Park nodded once. He turned to Tracy. Ms. Wallace, your requests? Dismissal of the police report with prejudice, Tracy said. Sanctions against both respondents for filing false allegations. A protective order barring Mr. Jackson from contact with Mr. Taylor and the minor child. Primary custody to Mr. Taylor with exclusive use of the family home pending property division. Supervised visitation for Ms. Taylor until she completes a high-conflict co-parenting course. Judge Park didn't hesitate. Motion to dismiss, granted with prejudice. The police report is expunged. Mr. Jackson, you are hereby barred from contact with Mr. Taylor and the minor child, Leo Taylor. I am also referring this matter to the District Attorney's Office for investigation into potential insurance fraud related to your injury leave claim. Drake's face went pale. Primary custody is awarded to Mr. Taylor. Exclusive use of the family home is granted pending final division. Ms. Taylor, you will attend supervised visitation at the family center until you complete the court-ordered co-parenting program. Sanctions in the amount of $2,500 are assessed jointly against Ms. Taylor and Mr. Jackson for filing false and malicious allegations. The gavel came down. I stood. Tracy gathered the files. Liza sat frozen. Drake pushed his chair back hard and stormed toward the hallway. I followed at a distance. Tracy stayed close. Outside the courtroom, Drake stopped near the elevator. He turned, tried to summon a smirk like this was all some joke he was still in on. I stopped 3 feet away. My voice stayed level. You came for a fight, I said. I came for a finish. His smirk died. The elevator doors opened. He stepped in without a word. Will the fraud referral open the final trapdoor? Saturday morning sunlight poured through the kitchen window and caught the butter sizzling in the pan. I flipped the first pancake. Leo stood on the step stool next to me, laughing when the edge curled up perfect and golden. That one's yours, I said. Can I put chocolate chips on it? 2 handfuls, no more. He grinned and counted out exactly 2 handfuls, then snuck a 3rd chip into his mouth. I didn't stop him. Moments like this, simple, clean, no lawyers in the room, they mattered more than any gavel ever could. The doorbell rang at 8:30. George Henderson stood on the porch with a bed of 2x4s balanced on one shoulder and a toolbox in his free hand. Treehouse day, he said. Leo bolted past me. George, you brought the wood. I brought the wood, the nails, and the plan, George said. Your dad's bringing the muscle. I grabbed my coffee and followed them into the backyard. The air smelled like cut grass and sawdust. George dropped the lumber near the oak tree we'd picked last week. Leo circled it twice, already imagining walls and a roof. You measured the branches? George asked. Twice, I said. Marked the platform height at 6 feet. Should hold 3 adults or 5 kids. Or 1 kid and a whole lot of dreams. We started laying out the frame. Leo handed us nails one at a time, serious as a field medic. I remembered being his age, building a fort in my grandfather's barn with scrap plywood and bent nails. The smell of old wood and the weight of the hammer. Some things don't need updating. My phone buzzed on the porch railing. I wiped my hands and checked the screen. Email from the family center. Subject: Supervised visitation schedule. Leo Taylor. Ms. Liza Taylor's first supervised visit is confirmed for Tuesday, 10 a.m. Neutral site protocols in effect. No gifts, no private conversations, no coaching. Sessions are monitored and logged. Please arrive 5 minutes early for check-in. I set the phone down. George glanced over. Good news or paperwork? He asked. Paperwork, that's good news, I said. Liza starts supervised visits Tuesday. Everything goes through the center now, no more driveway drama. George nodded. That's what structure looks like. Leo looked up from the nail bucket. Is Mom coming to see me? She is, I said. At a place where people make sure everyone's safe and calm. You'll get to see her and someone will be there to help if anyone needs it. He thought about that. Then he went back to sorting nails by size. Kids process things in their own time. I wasn't going to rush him. The morning slid into afternoon. The frame rose. George and I bolted the platform into place while Leo passed up brackets and screws. The treehouse took shape. Sturdy, square, solid. No shortcuts. No loose joints. My phone buzzed again. Text from Joe Lopez. Update. Drake Jackson moved out of Liza's townhouse this morning. Saw him loading a truck at 6 a.m. Neighbor confirmed he's gone. I showed George the message. Fast exit, George said. Fraud referral does that, I said. He knows the walls are closing. Another buzz. This time, a call. Liza's name lit up the screen. I let it ring twice, then answered. This is Alex. I want to talk, Liza said. Her voice was tight, strained. Off the record, just us. We don't need lawyers for everything. We do, I said. All communication goes through Tracy Wallace, you know that. Alex, come on. No, I said. You chose the courtroom. You chose the lies. You chose to coach Leo. Now you live with supervised visits and a clean record going forward. If you want to talk, call Tracy. Silence. You're being unreasonable, Liza said. I'm being clear, I said. Goodbye, Liza. I ended the call and set the phone face down. George didn't say anything. He just handed me a drill. Some conversations don't need commentary. An hour later, my phone chimed with a new email. I wiped sawdust off the screen and opened it. From Investigator Sarah Patel, State Insurance Fraud Division. Mr. Taylor, this is to confirm an active inquiry into Mr. Drake Jackson's injury leave claim filed with his employer and insurer. Attached are doorbell camera clips provided by a third party showing Mr. Jackson engaged in physical labor inconsistent with his reported limitations. We will contact you if further information is needed. Thank you for your cooperation. I opened the attachments. 4 clips. Drake unloading gym equipment, Drake carrying furniture, Drake moving boxes from a truck to Liza's porch. All time-stamped during the period he claimed he couldn't lift more than 10 pounds. I forwarded the email to Tracy Wallace with a one-line note. Inquiry confirmed. Clips attached. Her reply came 30 seconds later. Good. Let the system work. Twilight settled over the yard. The treehouse stood finished. Railings, ladder, roof. Leo climbed up with a small wooden sign George had cut and sanded. He hung it on a nail near the entrance. The word carved into the wood. Steady. Is that good, Dad? Leo asked. That's perfect, I said. He sat on the platform, legs swinging, looking out over the backyard like he owned the sky. George packed the toolbox. Kid's got the right idea. Yeah, I said. He does. I looked at the sign one more time. Steady. That's what we'd built. That's what we'd keep. But the investigator's email sat open on my phone and the fraud inquiry hummed somewhere in the background, turning gears I couldn't see. Will the inquiry become charges before quiet can fully return? Autumn light filtered through the same kitchen window. Softer now, slanting gold across the counter where I packed Leo's lunch. Turkey sandwich, apple slices, a juice box, and a granola bar he'd pick at but probably leave half-eaten. Routine. The kind that doesn't make headlines but builds everything that matters. Leo sat by the door, tying his shoes with the careful concentration of a kid who'd just mastered double knots. His backpack leaned against the wall, dinosaur patches worn but still bright. You got everything? I asked. Yep, he said. Reading folder, homework, library book. Good man. Supervised visitation continued without incident. Liza showed up on time at the family center, followed the protocols, and sat across from Leo at a table with coloring books and puzzles while a staff member watched from the corner. No whispers, no coaching, no drama. She'd completed the first half of the high-conflict co-parenting course. Certificates came through the court portal every few weeks. Progress, I guess. The kind you measure in attendance sheets instead of apologies. Financial sanctions? Still unpaid, still accruing. Tracy had filed a notice of non-compliance and the amount climbed every month. Liza could ignore it all she wanted. The ledger didn't care. I'd maintained primary custody and built the kind of stability you can't fake. Morning routines, school pickup, homework at the kitchen table, dinner at 6, bedtime stories at 8. George and I finished the treehouse roof 2 weekends back. Shingles, weatherproofing, a small window Leo insisted we cut so he could see everything. Sandy Moore waved from the fence while we nailed the last row, gave us a thumbs up, and brought over lemonade in a plastic pitcher. "Looks solid," she'd said. "That's the idea," I'd replied. Evenings passed quietly now. Homework spread across the table, dinner plates stacked in the sink, bedtime stories that ran longer than they should because Leo kept asking, "One more chapter?" And I kept saying yes. That was the new baseline. Not perfect, just steady. My phone buzzed on the counter. Email from Tracy Wallace. I opened it while Leo zipped his backpack. Subject: finalized custody order and docket update. Alex, attached is the signed custody order. Primary physical and legal custody to you. Supervised visitation for Liza until course completion. Police station exchanges until further notice. This is now permanent unless she files for modification, and given her record, that's unlikely to succeed. Property division hearing is set for November 14th at 10 a.m. before Judge Park. Based on the forensic accounting and her withdrawal history, you're positioned to retain the house and majority equity. She'll likely settle before we walk in. Let me know if you have questions. Also, Riza Gutierrez included a docket note this morning. Drake Jackson's fraud case moved to formal review by the district attorney's office. That means charges are being considered. Stay clear of him, document any contact, and let the system finish what it started. You built this win. Don't forget that. Tracy. I closed the email and slipped the phone into my pocket. "Ready?" I asked Leo. "Ready," he said. We walked to the car. The air smelled like wood smoke and wet leaves. The neighborhood was waking up. Garage doors opening, dogs barking, coffee mugs steaming on porches. Normal. The kind of normal I'd fought for. I dropped Leo at school, watched him jog toward the entrance with his backpack bouncing, and drove home through streets that felt lighter than they had 3 months ago. George texted mid-morning. "Roof's holding. Kid happy?" I replied. "Kid's great. Roof's solid. Thanks for the help." His response came fast. "Anytime, brother." That evening, after homework and dinner and a bedtime story about dragons that ended with Leo asleep before the last page, I stepped onto the porch. The air had cooled. Stars punched through the October sky. Leo's bedroom light clicked off upstairs. Sandy must have set the timer on his lamp like I'd asked. I stood there, hands in my pockets, looking out at the driveway where this whole thing started, the spot where Drake swung and missed. The spot where I put him down and set the tone for everything that followed. Pain passed. Consequences stayed. I turned toward the street, toward anyone who might be listening, and said it out loud. Pain passed. Consequences stayed. Drake was under formal review. Liza was paying sanctions she couldn't dodge. I had my son, my house, and my peace. They had lawyers, debt, and a record that would follow them longer than any of this hurt me. If you're facing your own turning point tonight, if someone's coming at you with lies, leverage, or fists, ask yourself this: what would you document first? Because the answer to that question is the difference between noise and proof. And proof is the only thing that survives a courtroom. I believe stories such as this find us for a reason. If this one touches you, please subscribe. I share a new one every day. In the meantime, there are 2 stories on the screen that are even better.